Alright, so the EICMA fair in Milan is over, and actually it's just a 7-hour drive from here, but I was kind of too lazy to go there, and I already knew which new models were coming, so, well, I'm gonna make this from my desk. I bring you my highlights of this fair this year, and with that, welcome to the original. Right off the bat, the big bombshell was for me CF-Moto V4 SRRR. That's a complicated name. I mentioned it back when I talked about the NK675, and now at the EICMA the prototype was there. Yes, it's a prototype, but it really looks like this thing is ready to ride. And I know from a dealer that in the next EICMA in 2026 they want to present the finished bike, and it should be in the shops in spring of 2027. But not much is known yet. It has active aerodynamics that adjust in real time and supposedly hits over 300 kilometers per hour. Power comes from a 997cc V4 engine with over 210 horsepower and a weight to power ratio of under 1 kilo per horsepower. We're looking at a nitride coated fork, Brembos up front, active brake cooling, a reverse swing arm and styling that's already very close to the MotoGP machines. And honestly, CF-Moto's prototypes are getting very close to production reality these days. They also showed the NK675 GP, and another big deal for me is a 1000cc adventure bike, the 1000 MTX. With the MTX, we already know 946cc, 105 Newton meters of torque, and 112 horsepower from parallel trim with a dry weight of 222 kilos. That's basically a stronger and a little bit lighter Africa twin. It's definitely going to work well on the market. The price is not fixed yet, but once again, I know from the dealer, it should replace the MT800 and it should cost below 11,000 euros, which is just slightly above the price of the MT800. So that's gonna be a big hit for CF-Moto, I'm pretty sure. And as you may notice, I'm kind of a Ducati fan. I just own one Ducati, it's my first Ducati, but I just like the looks and the feelings and the sound of Ducatis. And they brought out the new Monster with the new V2 engine. That was quite predictable that they start to put this engine everywhere. And the new Monster has 111 horsepower and 91 Newton meters of torque, so the same power as the previous model, but 1 Newton meter less. Still, the new V2 is an excellent engine, which I was able to test extensively in the Streetfighter video. The new Monster also has lost another 4 kilos, now weighing in at 175 kilo, ready to ride. That's pretty impressive, to be honest. Valve clearance service interval at 45,000 kilometers, that's not bad at all. And the same engine in a just different configuration is also found in the new Hyper Motard, Ducati's street fun bike. And in the SP version, it's actually really pretty. And I think it's also the most expensive one with the new V2 at almost 20,000 euros. That's quite something. The standard version starts at 15,700 euros, so 3,000 euros more expensive than the Monster with the same engine. And there is also the Desert X version 2. After the previous one was discontinued, we finally get the version 2. I always liked that bike, and in all honesty, now even more. It also gets the new V2 engine, which means we now have 5 models using the same engine. Well, another highlight for me on the EICMA, well, actually it was announced a little bit before the EICMA, was Triumph Trident 800. Why is this bike so special to me? Well, I tested the Tiger Sport 800. There's another video with the Tiger Sport coming next week in comparison to the Multistrada V2. And my wife always wanted to buy a Trident 660 and said I should sell my Ducati. And I said, that's not going to happen at all, because the Trident 660 does not have enough power for me. And then they just brought out the new Trident 800, which means I'm going to fly to Cyprus in January to the global launch to test this bike. And if it proves to be any good, and I think so, I'm going to sell Ducati for the new Trident, and also talking to a dealer. So we're going to make a little bit of a Trident 800 project out of this. So I'm kind of excited. So what can the Trident 800 roughly be? Basically, it's a Tiger Sport 800 without fairing, 115 horsepower, 84 Newton meters from a 3-cylinder, under 200 kilos, ready to ride with 14-liter tank, and that's distinct Trident look. And let me make a little prediction. I think the rear will be too soft. I can already tell from the shock. The brake master cylinder isn't radial mounted, and it's fitted with these stupid Road 5 tires. It's pretty nice. Not. But all of those are things you can change. And if it's geared a little shorter than the Tiger Sport, then this thing is going to be a blast. But more on that in January. And back to my Japanese love. And the company I like the most in Japan, meanwhile, is Honda. Maybe it's because I own an Africa Twin. Now, I really like Honda, and they brought out a real bump with the V3R 900 compressor prototype. It doesn't look quite finished as a CF-Moto model, but the tech behind is seriously awesome. Not too much is known yet, but it uses an electrical driven supercharger, which means you don't have to build up revs before it kicks in like in a conventional one. And in theory, it delivers boost from idle, so you would expect it to outperform other 900s in terms of power. And we're probably talking about somewhere around 105 to hopefully 120 horsepower, and the torque should be well over 100 Newton meters. That would be seriously cool. And I would really love to test this bike if this one comes out. And this is a great opportunity for you to tell me in the comment sections which bikes I should test in 2026, because I do this part-time still. So I can test around 10 to 12 bikes seriously. So, and I just want to drive the Trident. The rest is up to you. Honda also transplanted the excellent engine from the 1000 Hornet into the F version, and it looks fantastic. It's supposedly geared shorter, and that should make it a strong rival to Kawasaki's Z900 RS. It pulls out 124 horsepower and 103 Newton meters of torque at 8000 RPM. That's 28 horsepower less than the Hornet and 1 Newton meter less torque, but it peaks about 13% earlier. Fully fueled, it weighs 211 kilos, and honestly, at around 12,000 euro, I think is destined to sell really well. Last but not least, when you've built a new engine, you might as well create another crossover bike. Enter the CB1000 GT. It kind of looks a bit like a Yummy, well, whatever. It fits the lineup. Anyway, that's cool. Let's move on to Kawasaki, because they also brought back another legend with the KLE. Sadly, it's not the KLR, but still, I think the KLE is a real addition, and it looks absolutely brutal, don't you think? It's powered by a 450 engine, looks likely around 45 to 48 horsepower with a 21-inch front wheel and 210mm suspension travel in the front and 200 in the back. That's pretty solid specs. The only real downside for a true enduro is that the low mounted exhaust. It's positioned that way for the panniers, well, yeah, but still, it's not enduro-like. Still, it's a bike I was actually excited about, and if there's a chance to test it, I'm in. Also making a return is his Z900 RS. It disappeared briefly because of Euro 5, but now it's back. A bit more horsepower, same torque I think, though you have to rev it a bit higher. That's one I really have to test, and together with the Trident 800 and the new Honda CB, that should make a really fun comparison. And there's also the new Z1100. It's also back, well, yeah, kind of. That was basically my first little bike. It lost some horsepower on the way. So my bike had 142 horsepower. This one has only 136. That's kind of disturbing and disappointing. You get more CC but less power. Yeah, I don't get it. It's nice that it's back. Still, it should have 150 horsepower to be somehow competitive. Still, we are staying in Japan, and Suzuki also brought back an old friend of mine. I owned the SV650 for 10 years. Loved the V2 engine, and it kind of got a new life in the new SV7GX. Another crossover with 73 horsepower and 210 kilos, and somehow it looks kind of small, doesn't it? Maybe that's the target audience, I'm not sure, but I'm happy to see that engine back. Well, to be fair, it never really went away, but now it's given a new lease on life. Last but not least, BMW. The one that caught my attention was the F450 GS, the baby GS. We already knew the prototype from earlier this year, but now it's officially here, built to compete with all those smaller Japanese and Chinese enduros. And visually, I think it looks great. That said, I have to admit, when I see an adventure bike with cast wheels, well, yeah, that's not my favorite. But still, 48 horsepower, 178 kilos, and a parallel twin sounds interesting, with a starting price of around 7,200 euros, and they charge 1,000 euros for the spoke wheels. But it's a BMW. I guess I will get it over 10 grand. Let me see. Here, a little bit of USB socket here, and boom, there you go. A lot of people were also admiring the Norton Manx and Atlas, and yeah, well, these bikes look great, absolutely stunning, no doubt about it, but honestly, they don't really excite me that much anymore, because they're kind of half prototypes that hardly anyone can afford. They still deserve at least a quick mention here. And did we forget anyone? Well, I don't think so. So we got Yamaha. They brought the new R7. It's a little bit updated and new colors. Well, great. I think Aprilia and Moto Guzzi, I saw nothing. Who else we got? Royal Enfield. I really love the brand, and I thought they bring out the new Himalayan 750, but they just brought out new colors. So you got the Himalayan now in all black. It's called Mana, and they also brought out other colors. And they also brought out the Flying Flea, a small electric bike. It looks great for an electric bike, to be honest. It's a nice mixture of modern and classic. Still, if it's an electric bike. Yeah, that's it. So I'm not disappointed. Kind of it was an okay EICMA season, I guess, this year. Let me know which is your favorite, and please, really, seriously, let me know which bikes I should test next year. And with that, thank you for watching. See you in the next one.